guys, it's a little bit of alternate programming for you tonight at 8 o'clock West Coast time, 11 o'clock, wait, 8, 9, 10? 11 o'clock East Coast time. I'm back. Hello from Idaho. So it's a little different tonight. Tonight the Polaha Chautauqua was coming in a little bit later. My family and I went to a really cool friend of mine's house today. He's got some horses and he's got some amazing stories, and I have an interview that I'm going to post for you later, which will be a really inspiring interview, and it's kind of about living the full expression of the human experience, which is kind of what this whole thing is about. You hear my dogs in the background. And it's also a little bit about self-control, because I was trying to incorporate his story with the week. But this week, we're going to do self-control. And we're going to do a little bit of a truncated thing, because you're going to get this live and you're going to get what I'm going to post after the fact. So it's going to be a big twofer. I'm excited though. This is a bit of a different, I know we're missing out on all of the UK folks, and it's a little different for other people, but I was where horses were, and I was going to take the camera and I was going to show you a horse, and you were going to see the horse eye, and then I was going to, in a very cinematic way, move down the face of the horse, and you were going to see the nose and the power of this horse breathing, and then you were going to see the little bit in his mouth. And I was going to make a metaphor about how this little tiny piece of metal controls this giant animal. I was going to scan all the way down this big, strong horse body. But there was a technical issue, obviously. So it's been a fun little adventure. Sam, good afternoon from Melbourne on a Monday. She's in the future. How's the future look, Sam? Are we okay tomorrow? Anyway, you want to do it real quick? You want to do a little half session of a Polaha Chautauqua, and then I'm going to post the interview as well, so you're going to have a full thing. So anybody who's tuning in after the fact, you're going to get a full experience. You're never going to know any different. It's going to be amazing. All right. All right, here we go. So if you're just now watching me live, and you're like, what the heck is Chris Polaha from Mystery 101 and other things? What is he doing right now? I have been, since the beginning of quarantine, since March, been doing something called the Polaha Chautauqua. And we gather, and we talk, and we sing, and we read poetry, and we share our experiences, and we tell stories, and I go live with you. And over the past 2 months, I've been doing sort of a Fruits of the Spirit, well, it really is a Fruits of the Spirit exploration, taking different qualities. Where's my book? Let me get in on it. Taking different qualities, I guess it's downstairs, and going through, so like studying peace and patience and kindness and goodness. And this week we're doing self-control. So we're talking about self-control. All right, you ready, guys? Self-control, as defined by Webster's, is restraint exercised over one's own impulses, emotions, or desires. So restraint exercised over one's own impulses, emotions, or desires. Very simply put, in my own opinion, my terms, this is a Polaha thing. Do you control your appetites, or do your appetites control you? So do you control your appetites, or do your appetites control you? That's my big question. What are appetites? Well, I think anything that runs away with you is an appetite. Interesting. Go ahead and maybe you guys can list a whole bunch of appetites that you have issues or that you wrestle with. You guys can go ahead and talk amongst yourself. But I know a bunch that I've got. Thank you, baby. So there's a goodness test that you can take to see whether or not your appetites fall in the good column or maybe appetites that aren't so healthy for you. And so my question for you is this. This is a quick goodness test on your appetites. Does this behavior, the behavior in question, give you a momentary pleasure and satisfaction, but then leave you with the long-term feelings or effects that cause feelings of shame, feelings of guilt, feelings of isolation from your community, from the people that you love, from your parents, from your spouse, from your neighbors, from other, people in your community? And then if you believe in God, does this behavior cause isolation and a separation between you and God? Okay? Relationships. Self-control. Now here's the big thing about this week. Self-control is the discipline to keep yourself aligned and in relationship with your source. Or God, if you want to put it that way, and your community. So, self-control is the discipline to keep yourself aligned and in relationship with your source. So when I say appetites, then you go, well, are we judging these things? Is drinking wrong? Is gossip wrong? Is eating too much wrong? Is not getting exercise enough wrong? Is gossip wrong? Is not exercising when I want to be exercising wrong? Is driving too fast wrong? So you start to break down these things, and one word for appetites, one word for this behavior that gets tossed around a lot is sin, right? So sinful behavior. Now you hear that, and automatically it goes old school, puritanical Christian, like, you're going to hell, you're a sinner. You're going to heaven, you don't have any sin. And I'm going to try to reframe something for you. And this, again, is all my perspective. I'm not a seminary student. I've had a faith my whole life. I'm 43 years old. I read the Bible a bunch. I've made my own opinions about things. You're getting those opinions. Sin. Let's talk about it in terms of, we have two paths that we can walk down. One path leads us towards life, and one path leads us towards death. So sin is death, and love is life, right? So if God is love, then love is life, and sin is death. So when I sin, whether it's whatever that behavior is that causes me to feel isolation from my family, from my friends, from my community, from my God, and ultimately from myself, that sin starts to push me further and further away. So watch, here we are. We're like a little kid, and we're in love, and everything is amazing. And I'm up close and personal, and I know everything there is to know about you, and it's amazing, and we're in relationship. But then all of a sudden I sin. Whoop. And I sin again. Whoop. And I start feeling like, oh man, I don't feel so good about that. But you guys don't like me anymore. And before you know it, like, I keep doing this thing that pushes me further and further and further away from you, and then it's almost like, and you're left with my dog. You're left with my dog. So I think my sort of elongated metaphor here is that sin, or our appetites that are not good for us, they eventually push us so far away because they get wrapped up with all these different emotions that they eventually kill our relationships. And the first ones to go, if it's the first ones to go usually are the people in our lives, and then it's relationship with God, and then it's relationship with ourselves. So self-control is the cure to that. It is the discipline to keep yourself aligned and in relationship with your source and with your community. So let's get on with it, huh? So I want to be clear. I'm not taking this puritanical, like, you can't do this, you can do this. If you take the goodness test and it falls in You can still have fun. You can still enjoy yourself. You can still find pleasure in things, moderation. You can still do things like you work out and you're not supposed to eat certain foods, but you do every once in a while. That's fine. You should be able to reward yourself. And we live in a time period right now with COVID where there's already so many restrictions on our lives that God forbid we start like saying a bunch of other things aren't okay. I'm talking about the things that cause you to stumble. And everyone is convicted differently. So you have your own thing and you know it. Like you know what it is that makes you feel best and makes you feel worst. So psychology today describes self-control as the ability to manage one's impulses, emotions, and behaviors to achieve long-term goals. I want you to hear that. Long-term goals is what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. Self-control is primarily rooted in the prefrontal cortex, the planning, problem-solving, and decision-making center of the brain, which is significantly larger in humans than other mammals. The richness of nerve connections in the prefrontal cortex enables people to plan, to evaluate alternative actions, to ideally avoid doing things they'll later regret, rather than immediately respond to every impulse as it arises. So the feel good versus the it's not going to be good for me because in 5 years or 2 years or 10 minutes, I know it's going to be bad for me. So whether the temptation is drugs, food, or scrolling through Twitter instead of working, everyone has domains of life in which they wish they could exercise a little more willpower. Somebody asked me, what's the difference between willpower and self-control? I think that my definition of it is that willpower is the engine that drives self-control, which is also different than self-discipline. Self-control is not allowing yourself to do stuff. Self-discipline is pushing yourself to do stuff. And willpower is the thing that enables both to happen, right? So in the early 70s, I wanted to read this to you guys. In the early 70s, psychologist Walter Mischel conducted what is now known as the marshmallow test. He found that children who, left alone in a room with a plate containing a marshmallow, were able to resist eating the candy in order to be rewarded with 2 marshmallows in the future, later showed numerous positive life outcomes. Notably, these children and fewer behavioral problems got better grades than did those who were unable to delay gratification in the test. The benefit of self-control is that it allows people to direct their attention despite the presence of competing stimuli, and it underlies all kinds of achievement from school to the workplace, and here in psychology today, it benefits relationships as well. So back to the relationship. So self-control, this is me now. This is me selling this to you. Self-control is the work we get to do to build kindness, peace, goodness, patience, love, and joy. It's the work that we get to do. It's our end of the bargain. And God will come alongside of you if you're somebody who believes that God can come in and the Holy Spirit can come in and help you not be tempted for certain things. He absolutely can come inside of you and take those things away, those thoughts away. Those appetites and desires, but it's our job to do the work, right? And I think one of the biggest helping aids that I've ever had in my life as far as self-control is setting goals. And I'll show you something. I won't read too much of it because it's really super personal. But every January since 1998, because I said I'm 43, I'm an old man. Every January, I write a list of goals. 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and then I give a little note to myself. And goals for 2020, I'll read a couple. To start kingdom living, check. To trust God with my life, every turn, every dollar. To fast for His glory, which is self-control, check. To read His Word, to make this year a year of depth in the Bible. Check. Those are my top 3. To really see and hear Julianne, check. To get my body in peak shape, check. To help end homelessness in LA. I did not help do that this year. Trouble in Paradise, movie for Hallmark, film it. Didn't do that. The Yorkshireman's Granddaughter, finished the script, sell the film. Finished the script, didn't sell the film. Mystery Train, sell it, sold it, didn't write, didn't produce, didn't film it yet. And then make a full version of the Ding Dong song. Didn't do that either. So there's some things I did, some things I didn't do. Anyway, I've got a 5-year goal, 10-year goal. It keeps me focused on what's to come. There have been a couple years where I haven't done that, like I've taken a rest year, and it's weird, I'll drift. So it really does help me to have focus and have a goal. Julianne, my wife, is somebody who has unbelievable self-control. Samantha was saying, you're not old, Chris. I'm not old. I'm a young man. And you're not old either, Sam. Julianne has unbelievable self-control. I can tell you story after story after story of my wife and how just strong and how much willpower she has. But one that I will share with you is that when she was 8 years old, she was eating a bunch of candy. And she had a habit of eating a lot of candy. We're talking 7-Eleven, Slurpees, slushies, all sorts of candy, just blah, 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 blah. And she had this awful toothache, like it was the worst. And she was crying. And her mom pulled over and she was like, my tooth. And her mom was like, well, you should pray about it. And so she prayed this little prayer of saying, like, God, take this tooth away, my toothache away, and I'll never eat candy again. And her mom was like, don't make a promise you can't keep. Like, make it legitimate. You know, if you're really going to make if you're going to do that, do something that you can, follow through with. And so she said, well, I'll only eat candy once a month for the rest of my life. And immediately the toothache went away. So here's this 8-year-old little girl who's got all the faith in the world in the purest, truest, brightest self of her version of herself that ever was. And her prayer was answered. And she was like, well, God did this for me, so I'm going to do this for God. And to this day, my wife will only eat candy one day out of the month. And has only eaten candy one day out of the month. It's amazing. The commitment level is amazing. And by that, her character is fortified. Like, it's a part of what was so attractive about her to me. When I met her, there were so many things where I was like, wow, you're trustworthy. Like, if you do that for your faith, if you're that committed and you have that much self-control in that aspect of your life, then gangbusters across the board. And it's true, right? There's this verse in the Bible that says, if I can trust you with the little things, then I'll be able to trust you with the big things. And I think that goes to us being humans with self-control. So it's on me to fast, to hold off, and to put desires aside. So if I'm struggling, and I don't know what you guys want to talk about, how personal you want to get, but if you want to write in the thing and say, yeah, I struggle with this or I struggle with that, you're more than welcome to. There's some stuff that I struggle with, and I have, and I have taken over the last 5 years to really discipline myself and to have self-control and to learn self-control. And it reminds me of a verse, 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. And I do think there's something about having a lack of self-control, which is a very childish thing, to just let your body want what it wants and to give in to that want whenever it wants it. And I think there's something very adult about saying no to yourself and to making yourself wait and to having patience. So I'll read you a few more verses, and then I might go live with one soul, and then I'm going to bail and enjoy my Sunday night and let you guys have your Sunday night. So the first verse I want to read to you is Proverbs 25:27 through 28. It's not good to eat too much honey, nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So you don't want to be that person. In 1 Timothy 3, verse 2, it says, now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. These are the qualities that we're seeking, right? And that we've been talking about. 2 Peter 1, 5 through 8 says, "For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness, knowledge, and to knowledge, self-control, and to self-control, perseverance, and to perseverance, godliness, and to godliness, mutual affection, and to mutual affection, love." Love, because that's what we're building up to. And I cannot wait for you guys to see the interview that I had with Wright tonight. I know you met him briefly in the weird live that happened and then disappeared into the ether. But this young man is nothing but a bright beam of love. And then when you meet him, you can't help but feel it. And when he talks, you can't help but he shows it to you. It's like there's just this mutual love that's amazing. What's happening with Dale LAV? What's going on there? Sorry, guys. Hey, Dale. That's really, really awesome that you're that honest and sweet. And you keep it up. Keep it up. In 2 Timothy, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid." So this is actually really appropriate. The Spirit that God gave us, in each and every one of us, it does not make us timid. All right? It doesn't give us a spirit of fear. But the Spirit that God gave us gives us power, love, and self-control, self-discipline. So that if you're out there and you are struggling with how to control certain behaviors, you don't have to make decisions out of fear, because you're not made of a spirit of fear. You're made of a spirit of power and of love and of self-control. So you've got all of the tools. There was this amazing article that I didn't get into, and a lot of people think that self-control is a limited resource, but that's a decision that you make. It is this big, vast ocean, an endless ocean of power that you have. All you have to do is plug into it. Anything that seems like a challenge, anything that seems like something that you can't control, you just flip the script on that. Stop telling yourself how hard it is to not do this thing or how hard it is to do this thing, and just say, you know what? I've got this, I own all of this. I'm so much more powerful than this thing. And it is weird when you start working on it. And the things that I've had to deal with self-control, like it's been like 20 years. There's parts of me that I have certain hungers that are so great. It took me like 20 years to control and to temper myself. And it's a constant process, and there's a gentleness that you do. And you say, you know what, relax, man, it's cool. And you're learning and you're getting better and you know what I mean? And I will go back. I'm seeing something about after I gave up alcohol after losing someone dear to me from drunk driving. Drugs and alcohol. It's interesting. Those little sins that I was talking about and those little slices, smoking. There are certain things that, like, again, we have this choice to move towards life or to move towards death. And it's with our words. It's how our relationships. You can speak life into your relationships. You can speak where you're just nitpicking and nagging and cursing, and all of that takes self-control. It takes self-control to be kind. It takes self-control to be patient. It takes self-control to be peaceful. To just, when all the anxiety and all the worry starts to stir up in you, just to say, it's taking self-control to be able to just, move through quarantine the way that we're moving through it. We've all been experiencing, we're all in the gym of self-control. So I guess my last thing is about setting a goal, okay? Because I shared a quick snapshot of the goal lists with you. And run, in 1 Corinthians 9, the book says, run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training, okay? So run in such a way as to win. And everyone who competes, they train for it. They work hard for it daily. And they do that to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. So as you move into this, trying to experience the full experience of the human the full expression of the human experience. I laugh because every time I go to say this thing, which is something that I just, rattled off the top of my head the other day, and I confuse it. The full expression of the human experience. When you do that, we're doing something. We're trying to do kingdom living here on earth, so that every time you see somebody, you treat them with love, you treat them with respect. That we're bringing a little taste of heaven to earth. The other night in my trailer, at the end of every day, I have this war paint. It's my makeup. I wear makeup to work. And it's a nice deep bronzer. Hides all these little red spots. And there's this woman, Anna. And Anna is a makeup artist. It's what she does for a living. And she all day makes sure that the actors on camera look their very, very best. And at the end of the day, she removed my makeup by putting this oil on it, my face, and then a hot rag, and then after that, a lotion. She spent about 10 minutes doing this. And it was so relaxing. It was so enjoyable to me that all of a sudden, and there was no expectation, it was her job, but she did it so well. And she wasn't like, a lot of times you feel like it's the end of the day and you're like, I'm so sorry, I'll just do it with a little quick rag. And she was like, no, sit down, put your head back, relax. I'm gonna do this for you. And she's this great gal, she's married, she's got a cool husband, and it was just this moment where I realized like we have the power to bring heaven to earth for people. When you love somebody, when you give a kindness to a stranger, you just pour into somebody, it's like giving us a taste of what heaven's going to be like. Like love in a marriage, and that's a taste of heaven. So self-control is the key to opening up all these other, because instead of getting mad when someone insults you, instead of like chasing a desire or a lust or a hunger whenever you feel like it and ruining that relationship and then falling back further and further and further and further away, you stay present. In fact, when Anna was taking my makeup off, because it happened all but a couple nights of this entire job, I started praying for her and thanking God for her, because I was like, this person is like, this is a really amazing, you didn't have to do it. But it was this awesome gift that she was giving me that made me feel really, really nice and relaxed at the end of a long day. And it allowed me to like get ready for my drive home and be present for when I got home. And so all of a sudden it was like, yeah, she took so much pride in what she did that it allowed me to just say thank you. And like, when you can start praying for a stranger and thank God that like, thank you for showing me this person, or thank you for this moment, or thank you for this thing, that's what our days should be filled with. The grocery clerk, he should be amazing. And in return, as we buy our groceries, we should be amazing to the people behind us and in front of us. And the gas people who are pumping gas, if you do that, or the day-to-day exchanges that we have with bill collectors on our phone, or whatever it is. If all of those interactions were filled with what it is going to look like, then we've just done it, man. On earth as it is in heaven, right? On earth as it is in heaven. So my parting examples: self-control. Think of yourself like a horse with a bit, very easily controlled with a very simple device, some leather and some metal, just go which way you want. So you are the master of yourself. An English garden versus a wild field. There's beauty in both, but one is useful, one is purposeful, one is filled with fragrance and beauty and edible fruits. The other one, while equally beautiful in its own way, is full of thorns and brambles and holes that if you run, you might fall into and hurt yourself. The garden is purposeful. It's got purpose. We talked about that last week with goodness. A wild horse versus a bridled horse. One is wild and unrideable and useless to us, other than the shocking beauty that it provides in the world out there. And the other is focused power. So the natural state of humanness becoming a work of art. So I am going to ask you this week to start making yourself a work of art. how do you, and a masterpiece, I'll remind you, takes a lot of time. So there's no rush to this. But the minute you set the goal, the minute you see like a ship, has anyone sailed? Hit me up a heart if you've sailed. Yeah, there you go. You see your distance. In the distance, you set your mark. You know where you're going. And the boat just moves as long as you, and you might veer off a little bit here, a little bit there, but you've set a mark. And that's what these goals are that I'm talking about. And if your goal is kingdom living, and if it becomes very clear to you what your goal is, and your goal is to say, you know what, I want to make heaven on earth. I want to live, I want to have kingdom living. I want to be a work of art. I want to practice patience. I want to practice peace. I want to practice kindness. I want to practice goodness. And I need self-control, so I'm going to start working out in the gym of self-control. Somebody asked me what next week is, and I'll let you guys know right now. So self-control is this week. Next week is faithfulness. Faithfulness. So we're going to get into what faithfulness looks like. And I actually have a really cool friend of mine, Scott Hayes, and another friend of mine, Angela Lloyd, and they're going to talk about faithfulness in two ways. So it's going to be kind of an interview one. And Scott did that documentary on Molly, which I'm going to talk about. And that man lived a life of faithfulness, and watch what it did for him. After that is gentleness, and then joy. And then, my friends, on December 20th, we're going to talk about love, which is what this whole thing is leading up to. It is our purpose to love one another. I cannot wait. I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together with each other. I can't wait for you to see the interview that I'm going to post after this live closes out. I'm going to go ahead and see who's waiting to get on. I'm going to let Teresa, I'm going to go live with one person so that we can have a little bit of continuity. Oh, I got declined. That feels good. And then I'm going with Bonnie, and then I'm going to go say goodnight to y'all. Let's see. We got it. Bronny Joy. You out there, Bronny? Bronny Joy. I'm waiting for Bronny to pick up the phone. I'm waiting for Bronny, and I'm all alone. Nope. And let's see. You know, it gets kind of scary when you get a request to go live with somebody.
Are you kidding me?
What's happening right now?
Are you real?
Yeah, it's real. It's live. Hey, what's your name?
Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. How are you?
Hi. Pardon me?
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you coming to me live from tonight?
From Winnipeg, Canada.
Winnipeg? What time is it there?
10:35.
There you go. 10:35 in Winnipeg, Canada. Were you just watching this thing like for the first time tonight, or have you watched this before, or what's going on?
I've caught a few of your others, never live. I've always just barely missed them, but I've caught the videos afterwards. Yes.
Okay. So it's your first live, and now you're on with me.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
I love it.
that's crazy.
That's cool. Do you want to say, like, do you have anything you want to contribute in regards to self-control, or is there anything else you want, like a story, like what? The floor is yours. Take it away, Rhonda.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's really crazy. Especially with all of this crazy COVID stuff, our province has just recently gone into even more lockdowns, like where we can't gather as churches, or as we can't even have family members in our homes. And I see self-control being played out in that area when you have when you have so much frustration with the government sometimes, or you have frustrations with how things are going. And I know that in the States, people are polarized hugely.
Yeah.
I think I'm a believer in Christ, and I believe with wholeheartedness that self-control is a gift that I cannot create myself, that it is something that comes from God above, that it is a gift of the Holy Spirit, and that it is through Christ and in Christ alone that can be lived out daily with people, with the government, with COVID, with any of this crazy life we're in right now. Like it's just, yeah, that's the only place it can come from in my mind.
You just dropped truth. Amen. That was it. That's it.
Well, I was not expecting to have this right now, that's for sure. But
Take us to church on Sunday night, Rhonda.
hey, if that's what God gives me the opportunity to do, I'm going to do it every time I have the opportunity. If a stage opens up like this, I'm going to take it because it's all for Christ.
Amen.
All for him.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. I love your heart. I love that you just shared that. You know what? You just reminded me, my sweet mom and dad, my dad's retiring this year. My nanny's 96, and they canceled Thanksgiving because I'm in Vancouver working. My brother, his son was just in Mexico, and it came back. And so there's just a lot of us being out in the world, and they were scared.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we just don't feel comfortable having, even though they were going to try to socially distance us in the house.
Yeah.
And it is taking a lot of self-control. And you're right. Self-control is a gift of the Spirit. And
it is.
There are things in my life that I tried to do myself, and it wasn't until I was like, God, take it. I need you to own this. And then all of a sudden, they weren't issues in my life. Like, it was like, oh, well, that's how you move on from that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. My husband's a pastor, and we are church planting here in Winnipeg. And when we're in the midst of something like COVID and trying to be patient on God and see, we were actually encouraged by a coach of ours that it's a long game, that God's game is a long game, and it's not something that no matter how much we want to rush ahead or want to make our plans or make our goals, like, yes, we have to speak out and we have to say the name of Christ whenever given the opportunity. But working on his mission is a long game, and it's not something we can do like that. We can't snap our fingers like that. And it does take self-control to be like, okay, God, show me what you want me to do, and be patient at times. And yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Rhonda, do you know how happy you just made me to know that church planters in Winnipeg are watching the Polaha Chautauqua at 10:35 at night on a Sunday? I mean, that's like, yeah, we're doing something.
That's
doing
awesome.
Something right.
That's so funny.
What is the name? Have you planted a church? Or are you waiting for COVID? Like, have you had? Is it a baby church right now?
It's a baby church. Yeah. We're actually part of the Baptist General Conference of Canada.
Okay.
And we live in a neighborhood in Winnipeg that is probably one of the most populated neighborhoods in all of of Canada. It's called Osborne Village. And so our church is called Osborne Village Church, and it's we had started just slowly gathering. We're doing things in a way with a philosophy of ministry called missional communities, and it's really about just being on mission where you live, doing life with your neighbors, doing life with people, loving people, and being in community with them. That's essentially the goal of it. And that church isn't what happens on Sundays. It's not the programs that you're a part of. And that's the kicker about COVID, is that it's not about the building. It's about us as people. We're the body. And so we have to act on mission, whether we're gathered or not, whether we're gathered or scattered. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I love that. Say it one more time, the name of the church.
Osborne Village Church. Osborne
Village Church. And is there a website people can check out if they just want to happen to go look at it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a website. We're on Instagram. It's osbornevillagechurch.com.
Check it out, people.
Osbornevillage.church. Pardon me. I was just educated. Okay. Yeah.
Is that the husband right there?
That's him right there.
What's up, buddy? Hey, man.
Oh, that is crazy. This is crazy.
All right. Guys, it's the world we live in. Love your
Oh my
hearts.
God.
Thank you so much for being brave enough to pick up the call, and thank you for even being more brave, or just honest and courageous and doing what we're purposed to do, and share your faith so boldly with everybody tonight. I appreciate you, Rhonda.
Well, I have really appreciated that you use the platform that you do as an actor to use it in such an intentional way. And I have appreciated that in watching the past videos that you've used. So thank you for doing that, because you have an opportunity to speak in a very intentional way, and I love that you're not wasting it. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, nothing but love here. All right. Good
Absolutely.
night. Yeah. Nice to
Take
talk.
care.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure to
You
meet you.
too.
Thanks for
Thank
jumping
you.
on. All right, Rhonda. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rhonda's husband.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. See, that's what I love about it is. She said something. You don't have to be in a building to have a community. If you use it wisely, social media can be that thing. My phone is doing something. It's rendering. Are you with me? Give me hearts if you guys are with me. There we go. All right, kids. Speaking of family and community and all the good stuff, I got to spend some time with mine Sunday night. You should have seen the debacle that was the Polaha Chautauqua at 4. It was my kids were going to ride horses and have this big, beautiful afternoon, and we didn't have Wi-Fi. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great week. Hey, I got good news for the Chautauqua people out there in the world. I'm opening there's like a little store if you want to buy a t-shirt, or if you want to buy a hat or a sweatshirt. I got goodies. There's like it's like a fundraiser that's going to be open until the 30th of November. That one is going to close, but if you buy and order your stuff now, between whenever it's going to open, I'll announce it on my Instagram page. Between the day it opens and the 30th, it'll be you'll have it by Christmas. And then I'm going to open a second one in December, which will run the month of December, and you'll get that stuff delivered in January. So hats, shirts, if you want to support the Chautauqua. All I'm going to do, they're going to be affordable. It'll be just to get the name out there, to spread the word about what we're doing here, because I'd love to build this audience and make it a really cool, legitimate, not that it's not now, but even bigger. And then whatever little proceeds go, we'll have a kitty to be able to do some cool stuff with in the future. So I will let you know where to order as soon as I know where to order. It is happening. It'll all be this week. You'll have it'll be a flash, like a thing next week. We'll just we'll do it. I'm going to pray for you all. Lord, I want to just lift up everybody who's watching this live, and anyone who watched all the way to the end, and even the people who just started watching it and then left. I just want to pray for them to have self-control, Lord, that you will be the author of their lives, and that they will feel the purpose that you've designed them for, that they will do the work to become works of art, and that we as a community, we as a people, we as a body can show people what it's like to have heaven on earth. I ask this in Jesus' name. And I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to peace out. And then I'm going to post, please watch the entirety of it, the interview with Casey Wright and Danny Virtue. And if you want right now, go check out the Danny Virtue Foundation.org, DANNY, Virtue, VIRTUE, or VIRTUE, yeah. .org, and go see the good work that they're doing as well. All right, see you next week, all.